I only got the surgery like not even 2 years ago. It's supposed to provide instant relief. It felt like things were getting worse rather than better. I'm driving down the road and I'm thinking about crashing my car because I feel so horrible. The very first session that I had with her, it was like, you're not on hormones, you need to be.
Seriously? Her first meeting with you?
It set in that she does not care. I'm just money to her. They would always recommend the next step. Let's increase your hormones.
What about warnings? Did she describe to you the possible side effects?
No, not her. I call the doctor's office and I'm like, what is happening? They're like, no. All you gotta do is get a pair of scissors and cut the skin out.
That's what they told you to do?
She starts it and I am screaming. I'm begging her to stop because it hurts so bad. And I remember in that moment realizing that I had made a mistake, a huge mistake. We had really good lives together and I threw it all away for a lie.
We appreciate your courage and being willing to share your story as a detransitioner. Take us back to 2017 when this all first started. You came out to your sister. Mm-hmm. What was that like?
My sister was dating a transgender man or, a biological female. And I met her and I couldn't tell that she was trans. So it kind of changed my whole perspective on this because before that I had seen depictions in media that it's just like people that are weird, they look weird, they sound weird, those kind of things. But this was just to me a normal person and it totally blew my mind at the time. And I had conversations with this person and they kind of like put it in my head a little bit that this might be the way that I need to go, like because of the things that they were saying, like the feeling like you don't relate to, your biological sex, you don't feel like you are in the right body, so to say. And those things kind of resonated with me, as they do, I think, with a lot of people. I think a lot of people experience maybe those kind of thoughts at some point in their life.
And what age were you?
I was about 20 years old
Okay.
at the time, kind of in between 20 and 21. So when I finally came out to my sister or like told her what I was thinking, it was because I had a dream about it. And I felt like, at the time I was a Christian, and I felt like it was God speaking to me. Obviously, I don't agree with that now, but that's what it felt like at the time to me. I was married at the time as well, and so shortly after that, I told my wife. We discussed what the next steps were going to be and what we should do.
How did she react to that?
Yeah.
I mean, at first she was a little bit shocked, but not that super shocked, because I had always been, not like feminine, but like I related more to females, especially like female characters in shows. In particular, my favorite show is Avatar, The Last Airbender, and there's this character named Katara. I really resonated with her. I don't think it was a complete shock to her, but it did take some adjustment for sure. And we went to therapy afterwards. She was literally losing her husband, and that's very real. Like, it's a very real loss, and there's grief that comes with that. We didn't have children or anything, thank God.
And how are you working through that? I mean, what were those conversations like?
She warmed up to the idea over time. We talked about it. At first, she was very much like, we need to not tell anybody. We need to, try to keep this as under wraps as possible, because she knew her family wouldn't react well. My family wouldn't react well. Because, nobody wants to see their kid go through that.
Yeah.
And this was 10 years ago?
This was about 10 years ago, 2017 in March.
So transgenderism wasn't quite accepted the way it is today.
Correct, yes.
At that point.
And it was the beginning of the Trump administration, so there was a lot of things going through my head. I was around certain people that were feeding me like this information,
Right.
especially with if this is like who you are, you have to do it. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. If you don't, you're going to self-harm. You're going to do something horrible to yourself,
Wow. And did you feel that way? Did you feel like, I might self-harm? Or was this people putting that idea into your head?
I had like a little bit of depression and stuff growing up, but I'd never really like had that idea in my head until some people were talking about it to me. And then like I was thinking that, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. I want to be happy.
Right.
I want to be healthy. I want to have a long life with my wife, and I wanted to have a family, and I was being encouraged by the people around me. And especially what I was seeing online, even back then, was, I don't know if I can say this, but it's like, if you don't do this, you're going to, end your life.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that the messaging of your therapist as well?
Oh yeah. So March was when I first came out to my sister, and I took a number of months to think about what the next step was. And I found a woman therapist that was considered to be the top gender therapist in Ohio at the time. And immediately, the very first session that I had with her, it was like, you're not on hormones, you need to be.
Seriously? Her first meeting with you?
Very first meeting. I mean, I wasn't in there 15 minutes. She
That's
didn't know
insane.
anything about me.
Wow.
I'm kind of in shock. I don't know what
Yeah.
to do with that.
The first meeting, 15 minutes in, she's like, why are you not on hormone therapy?
Yeah, she
That's
thought I was
insane.
already on hormone therapy because of the way I looked. Because I already had a very androgynous look, I guess you would say.
Wow.
Yeah. So within 15 minutes, and at the time I was like, wow, I thought this was going to be a lot harder. So it was like good news to me at the time. But
no resistance whatsoever.
no resistance whatsoever. No question. No, like, is this the right thing for you?
What about warnings? I mean, did she describe to you the possible side effects, long-term, short-term, of that sort of treatment?
No, not her. And, I don't think any doctor ever really put it into perspective what exactly I was doing to my body. So she recommended this place called Equitas, which is a transgender LGBT health center in Dayton, Ohio. They have one in Cincinnati as well. I called them, made an appointment. It took like a month to get in because they have like so many people that are going there. I got in at late October, early November, and had my first appointment with the nurse practitioner. And she handed me a pamphlet and basically said, you need to read this. It'll tell you everything about it. And then just sign it, and then you're good to go.
Wow. So that pamphlet was supposed to have all the side effects and whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I could ask her questions, but, like, I didn't know what to ask.
Right,
I didn't know anything about it at the time. I had read stuff online and heard other people's, like, interpretation of what it does to you, but I didn't know firsthand at that point what would happen to my body.
I mean, it kind of sounds like to me already there's almost like a conveyor belt they're putting you on, just kind of fast tracking you down a particular avenue. Did you feel that way, or were you just excited because you thought you wanted this? Or
at the time it was exciting to me because like I was worried that it would be a lengthy process. One thing that my therapist told to me at the time, she said that trans people are the most impatient group of people that she has ever met because we want to fast track it because it's supposed to provide instant relief, to how you're feeling, these horrible feelings that you felt inside your entire life. It's going to cure you, so to say, and lead you toward this dream of becoming the other sex.
Okay. Huh.
But yeah, they handed me the pamphlet, and they call this informed consent. Is what it's called.
Did you feel like you were very informed?
No.
On what you were consenting to?
I mean, I had a pamphlet that had some things, but mostly it tells you what it's going to change, not really like the side effects.
So like, this is great.
Say. Yeah.
It's going to be really good for you.
was it like those drug commercials you watch where they say, hey, take this, you'll have all these benefits, and then like the 20 hours of all the side effects?
Yeah.
You didn't get that?
No. And she, like I said, I don't recall her ever really like sitting down and being like, have you thought about children? Have you thought about, the mental side effects of what's going to happen to you? Because it does change the way you think, the way your brain behaves. Nobody really like put that into perspective for me. They had like the list of things. I wish I still had the pamphlet so I could see what all it had on it, but it listed some side effects, I think, but really like I was more concerned with what it's going to do for the positive.
Yeah.
It's going to change your face shape, it changes the fat distribution in your body, and just various other things.
So before you started, was there anyone in your life who was like, whoa, Josey, slow down. Think about this. Like, this is permanent. Did anyone kind of put up some yellow flags or red flags?
Yeah. So my wife at the time, we met with her family one night, and because they noticed the changes, like my voice was different, the way I was dressing was different. So they were like, what's up? And so we told them and talked to them about it. And they did try to like convince me the other way. I just, I didn't listen to them, unfortunately. I don't know if it was the way that they came about it, because they were kind of aggressive in how they confronted us about it.
Sure.
I don't know that a like softer approach would have worked or not, but the aggressiveness definitely like turned me away because, I'm being told also by like, my therapist at this point and my online friends, and even my sister and her boyfriend or girlfriend, you need to like stay away from these people because they are going to try to like shoot you down pretty much. You know, they think they want your best interests, but they don't have your best interest in mind because this is what you need.
Yeah, so kind of poisoning you against the very people who are trying to maybe
love you and help you. Yes.
pull the brakes back a little bit.
So walk us through like the next steps for this. So right now you're just talking about hormones and changing in the way you dress and those sorts of things. You go far beyond that in your story, in your life story. How does that progress? What does that look like?
I started the hormone therapy. It comes in increments. So you start at a low dose, and it's not just estrogen. You also take a testosterone blocker. Over time, this is kind of how it would happen. I would start to feel bad again. You know, my mental health would go downhill. I would be feeling kind of like, I don't know, like there's something wrong with me.
How are you physically? Like, how is your body responding to that?
I want to say that like it responded well, but looking back, for the first 2 years of my transition, I did not leave the house. I don't think like hardly at all. Like maybe to go get groceries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I couldn't hold a job. I couldn't, function like a normal person like I was beforehand.
Okay.
And I blamed it on the, gender dysphoria.
Okay,
and I still to this day feel like I was like a little bit of a science experiment or like a freak. That's how it made me feel. So I didn't want to go outside. I didn't want people to see me.
Yeah.
And I kind of continued that for the first 2 years. And every now and then I would go back to the doctor, for the checkups and stuff like that. They would always recommend the next step is what you need is to further your transition. That's why you're feeling this way.
Wow.
So let's increase your hormones. Let's increase the amount you're taking.
So none of them were like, oh, you're kind of struggling to hold down a job to leave the house. Maybe we need to address some of these issues before we keep. They were all just like, no, it's because you haven't gone far enough.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Did you feel like, this is a bit subjective, but your interactions with the doctors in those scenarios, do you think they really care about you as a person or more worried about what they could do to you to change your gender?
At the time, I would have told you that it felt like they cared about me. But like looking back on it, it seems more to me that there is this like pipeline, so to say, that you're on. A conveyor belt, I think you said earlier. It's like
Pipeline's better.
Moving forward. Yeah, we need to move you further along. Right. That's the answer. Like they weren't taking into account this entire picture of my life. They were only taking account this one particular piece that they feel they have the answer to.
So they're saying, hey, you need more. So what more were they suggesting? Upping the dose of estrogen, I would assume.
Yes. So I think I started at 2 milligrams a day. Then it went up to 4 milligrams a day. And eventually I think I was at 8 or so per day. They also recommend this other drug that is like a pregnancy hormone, and it's intended to make your chest bigger. I don't know what else it's supposed to do, but that was the main thing I heard when they told me about it.
Yeah. Okay. You were saying earlier you didn't want to leave the house because you felt like a science experiment or whatever. At this point, did you feel like you passed pretty well for a woman?
Yeah,
Most people thought you were a woman when you were out
That
and
was
about.
earlier in my transition that I didn't pass so well. There came a point where it was like, no, only people that knew me could tell.
Okay.
I felt like it was like a good thing. Like it was a sign that I had done the right thing because I appeared very feminine. Yes. And nobody that I encountered in my daily life could tell. I was fine going outside at that point.
Were you still feeling like you were still struggling with mental health and things like that?
Oh, yeah. I felt okay for a little bit, each time. But it would eventually I would go downhill again. And I couldn't understand what was going on or why I still had this depression, and maybe it's not meant to cure depression, obviously, but it felt like things were getting worse rather than better looking back on it. And it was getting worse because I was having not just I don't want to get out of bed, but I'm driving down the road and I'm thinking about crashing my car because I feel so horrible. I have suicidal ideation at this point.
Which you didn't have before you started the whole transition.
Not to the extent that I did. When I was growing up, I had a little bit of depression, but never, I wasn't, hurting myself. I wasn't contemplating it constantly. Me and my wife ended up, our marriage ended, not because of the trans thing, but because of some other things I won't really get into here. I wasn't able to hold down jobs like for very long. The longest I was ever at a job was a little over a year.
Was it a physical struggle to hold a job? Mental struggle?
Mental
both?
struggle for sure. It wasn't physically I was fine doing it, but it was the mental aspect of it, getting up and going every day and, you know, kind of like putting on this facade, I guess.
Because you said you'd been kind of hiding away for a while, so now you're having to engage consistently with people and you can't hide.
Yeah, so that was when my mental health got the worst, was during that time. And I kind of had this break, I think it was about 2022 in the summer, around May-ish. I ended up having to take a leave of absence for my mental health. I stopped doing therapy altogether for a while because I was like, oh, I don't need it. The hormones and stuff is like going to help me.
Right.
So anyway, I got back into therapy at that point and, you know, started seeing a psychiatrist, and they put me on a whole cocktail of medications. I mean, I was taking an antipsychotic, strong antidepressants, and not just like low doses, but high doses of these medications.
Along with the hormones.
Along with the hormones, yes.
Wow.
I had one doctor suggest, like, what if it's the hormones? And I stopped seeing him because he suggested that to me. And because, like, I was like, that can't be it. But
crazy person.
Yeah. Meanwhile, he was like the voice of reason, but I was so far along at this point. I was very deep into it. Like,
and I assume you have a whole cheering squad of LGBTQ people.
Yeah,
I
have at this point this group of friends that like kind of became my core friend group. These three girls, and we were like this. I talked to them about everything. They advised me about everything, and none of them were Christian. They were all atheists. They had like a very particular way of thinking and a very affirming way of thinking, you know, towards this type of thing. So they were like, yeah, get away from that guy. He's crazy, blaming it on your hormones. Like, every woman goes through this because, like, you know, they're telling me I am a woman.
Right, you're a woman, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I meet this person. At the time, she was, you know, identifying as female, you know, and we got together in a relationship. So a couple months afterwards, she decides she's transgender too, and she wants to transition, which apparently in the past she had done before, like kind of went on and off again on the hormones. But she's taking testosterone because she's male or female to male. She comes into this inheritance and says, I will pay for you to have surgery if this is what you want. And I'm like, whoa. I feel like I've won the lottery at this point. Never did I stop to think, why isn't she paying for her own surgery? Why isn't she doing like her own thing with this money? I'm scared, like, because I had gone, you know, kind of towards surgery a couple of times, but I had always backed out because I didn't know how to finance it, or, you know, I would get nervous. But at this point, I feel like I've won the lottery, and all my friends are like, yeah, you know, like, go for it, dude. So I made the appointments, you know, I found a surgeon in Philadelphia who happens to be the same surgeon as if you're familiar with Sarah McBride. I read in his book about this surgeon, and she is a top surgeon for this type of surgery. Like, she literally started the first surgical residency for transgender bottom surgery in the United States. And she does it more times than there are days in the year, apparently, according to her website.
Whoa.
Yes, which is a lot.
That's
so
a
I'm
lot.
thinking this is the person I should go to. They're experienced.
You felt like this surgery was like the last step.
Kind of the last step, because like I still like had this like lingering, like, I guess you would call it gender dysphoria, is that's what I named it.
And you're struggling with depression, certain levels,
and not just depression, but I'm being told by therapists that I have borderline personality disorder, all kinds of stuff, because like I'm dealing with these like mental anguishes.
Did the doctors, as you talked to them about the surgery and, you know, how it would affect you permanently, for, you know, were they giving you good warnings? Were they really giving you like, hey, stop and pause and think about this? Or was it like, hey, great idea, let's go?
So this is where my, I guess, biggest gripe is with like the doctors and the medical establishment in general. There's pretty much no safeguards. There's nobody stopping. I don't know if they're scared to, or they didn't even make me do a surgical consultation because I had done one in the past with this surgeon and then backed out. So they were like, oh, you can skip that part.
So they weren't even like, you backed out before. Are you sure you want to do this? They were just like, you did it once. Perfect. We're good to go.
No.
Fast forward.
And worse than that, I have my regular therapist, but I also have to go to another therapist because you have to have 2 letters of recommendation to get this surgery. And even though I'm not going through insurance, I talked to the doctor's staff, and they're like, yeah, we still want the letters just, to be safe. And again, this doctor who's telling me
that's to cover them.
Yes. And this doctor who I'm seeing, the psychologist, who says that I have all these things wrong with me, is like, yeah, you're of sound mind to make this decision. I'm going to sign off on this. No questions asked.
Oh, my word. You're on a whole cocktail of medications, antipsychotics, antidepressants, and she's like, yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
You can make this choice.
You can make this choice. You're in the right state of mind to make this decision. This life-altering, permanent decision.
That's insane.
Not just her, but also I went to another psychologist because I had to have 2. And both of them signed off saying, yeah, we know you're depressed. We know you have psychotic or whatever. You have intrusive thoughts going on and suicidal ideation already. But we're going to go ahead and green light this.
It's like nothing else has worked so far. The hormones haven't helped, but maybe this will do it.
Yeah.
We'll push you through.
And
did you feel that way as well? I have all these struggles. I feel so bad in different ways. This is the carrot in front of me. If I can just get this, that'll be the final thing that finally completes me. It makes me feel like who I am supposed to be. Did you feel like this was the hope you're looking for?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I describe it now as like, it's kind of like an unattainable dream. Like you're constantly chasing, like, if I took this final step, I'd finally be fully female or, fully like a woman. And I could put to rest these feelings of gender dysphoria and, feeling like a freak, a medical experiment. Everybody around me is telling me the same thing. Friends and doctors. I'm getting nervous towards the end of it, like a little bit of doubt at that point, but I pushed it aside as just like anxiety. I pushed that down. I talked to some people about it and they're like, you're just nervous. This is going to be the thing, that really like affirms you. This is what like you're supposed to do. This is the final step, so to say. I'm like days away from driving to Philadelphia to do this surgery. And I have one friend who is like, I read some things about this doctor. I don't know if you should go through with it. And I'm like, I don't know what to do now.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I've heard such great things about her. Like Congressman Sarah McBride literally went to this person and had their surgery. And in the book that Sarah McBride wrote, literally he recommends this surgeon.
Right. So you're like, I've got the best of the best. We've already put down all this money. Like, I can't back out now.
Yeah. Even though I have doubts, I go through with it. Like, I push forward because I don't know. I really, really believed that this was the thing that was going to make me feel better. This was the last step that I needed to take. And after I just needed to take the leap of faith, so to say, and then I would be okay.
Basically, you're putting your faith in the process they're presenting before you.
Oh, yeah.
Where I'm going to trust you. I put my faith in you, and I'm hoping for the salvation I'm looking for and the results they're promising.
Yeah, and to fill this hole, so to say, that's inside me, it's going to complete me. So anyway, I decided to go through with it, and, I'm anxious all the way up until the moment, like, that I'm wheeled back into the surgical room or the OR. I woke up the next, like, a couple hours later, and immediately I'm in a lot of pain, first of all, but that's to be expected from a major surgery, and I'm kind of out of it for the next few days, so it's not too bad. But this is the part that nobody prepared me for. No one drilled into my head, like, the permanence of this, like how it's going to affect you for the rest of your life, and the things you're going to have to do, like, to maintain it. I think it's like a week after surgery is when you go back. I go back to, it may be a week and a half. I'm in the hospital for a number of days, just sleeping pretty much. First of all, the hospital staff did a horrible job because I get bed sores. So that's like a horrible thing to deal with on top of the surgical pain. But everything that could go wrong goes wrong along the way, pretty much.
Oh, no.
So I have the bed sores. I get up and they put me in the chair and I'm in a horrible amount of pain, but they take me back to the hotel room where I'm supposed to stay for the next like number of days so I can go to my follow-up appointment with my surgeon. I kind of got the feeling that she didn't really care about me as an individual while I was in the hospital, because she would come in, once a day and like ask how I was doing, but she would very quickly try to get out.
She's doing like 365 of these surgeries a year. She's got to
go.
Yeah.
She's
got another patient
in
waiting.
and out. Yeah.
Make that money.
That's insane.
And she's very cold too, but I attributed that just to her being like, a doctor. Some doctors are just like that. It didn't really set in until I went back for my follow-up appointment. At this point, I have like a catheter in. I have, the dressings and stuff like that on my body. So I'm not like in a horrible amount of pain at this point, but it hurts. But I go in for the appointment, which it was very difficult to do because you have to walk and everything. And I get into the office. I have to sit there for a while. And then finally I go back to the room where they're going to like take the dressings off, take my catheter out. And I can't wait for that part because the catheter, I've never had a catheter up until this point, and I hope you never have to have a catheter because it is horrible.
I echo that sentiment.
So I go back and immediately, like, she's not even paying attention to me. She's talking to her aide. Like, that's how, like, the aide is being pretty nice, but like the doctor herself, she's just like complaining about another patient in front of me to her aide. And I'm like, okay, this is great. And she's just very unceremoniously taking everything out. Like just pulls the catheter out pretty much. And I'm just like, you could have gave me a warning, like maybe a 1, 2, 3. No. So she's very cold. And that's when I set in that she does not care. I'm just money to her. I have allergic reaction to the tape they've used. And I have blisters all over my stomach, which are horrible and itchy, and they just not good. And anyway, she like tells me about what's called dilating, which is basically you have to, you do this to maintain what is essentially an open wound, for the rest of your life. I knew about it ahead of time, but the people that I had talked to about it, nobody was like, this is going to be painful. This is going to be, a little bit excruciating, especially at first. Nobody like really drills in my head, you have to do this for the rest of your life. It's never going to go away.
Like we're talking 40, 50 years, you're going to have to be doing this.
Yeah, you're going to be in a nursing home still having to do this. Nobody like really puts that into my head or like explains to me the permanence of it. Maybe a little bit that's my fault for not like, thinking about those kind of things. But
it's the doctor's job to tell you. Yes, and adequately prepare you.
And I didn't even have a surgical consultation the second time. Maybe she like told me a little bit more in depth about it, like when I first had my surgical consultation with her years before. Yeah. But they let me skip the surgical consultation because I don't know. They just didn't want to do it. Probably saved them some time and money. I was aware of dilation, but nobody really was like, hey, you need to think about like how permanent this is going to be and how much you're going to have to go through. And that's what I guess my main thing here like today is like I want people to think about this, especially if you're considering this type of surgery because there is no going back. And any hopes you had of having children, any hopes you had of having like a normal, intimate, like physically intimate relationship with like your significant other, it's gone.
And they don't adequately prepare you for that.
No.
They're not walking you through all that.
No, because they tell you it is going to be normal. It's going to feel good and everything. And I'm maybe like 1 in a million that does, but my experience, it does not.
If they would have sat you down and said, hey, listen, and really explained to you the reality of what this was going to be, do you think you still would have done it because you were so enamored with the idea?
I was on the fence enough that could have talked me down.
Okay.
If somebody had stopped and gave me a realistic vision or like expectation for what would happen to me. The first time I ever had to dilate, first of all, they don't really like explain to me in the office what like I have to do. They don't even hand me the thing. They do it and like it hurts, but like it's not like too bad at this point. But that's not the case for how it like normally goes. There's 3 sizes that you have to do. Each one is bigger than the last, and you have to have it in. The total amount of time is 20 minutes, but usually it takes about 30 minutes for all the prep and everything.
That's a long time.
Yes, and it's not just like a once a day thing. It's 4 times a day at first. So I go back to the hotel room, and at this point I'm like kind of freaking out because like there's no way I can do this to myself. Like I'm in excruciating amount of pain. So my partner at the time is like, "Oh well, I'll help you," and I have to lay on the floor in the bathroom of the hotel room because there's no other place to really do it because I had to be flat on my back and I had to prop myself up with a pillow and everything. We go through the process, we start it. And I know this is gross, but I think it's important that people know this.
Mm-hmm.
She starts it and I am screaming. That is how much it hurts. I'm begging her to stop because it hurts so bad. I'm like, we need to call. This is too much. I literally cannot do this. I feel like I'm going to pass out. It's so bad. And that's what nobody prepared me for.
Okay.
And I remember laying on the floor in the bathroom in that moment realizing that I had made a mistake, a huge mistake, because this is more than I ever wanted to go through and more than I was ever expecting to go through with it.
And there's nothing you can do.
And there's nothing I can do at that point.
Oh, man.
I realized in that moment that this was not the right thing that I had done. I had done something horrible to myself, and there was no taking it back.
Because essentially,
Wow.
I mean, what you're having to do, I think you mentioned earlier, you are reopening a wound, forcing it as your body's trying to heal. You're doing the opposite.
Basically, yeah. That's how it works.
4 times a day.
4 times a day. It got maybe like a little bit easier but over time, but even to this day, it's not fun. It hurts. There's bleeding involved that nobody like prepares you for or tells you about. It's certainly not other trans people. And it goes down over time. So like after a few months, it goes to 3 times a day, then to 2 times a day. And now I'm at once a week where I have to do it. But even once a week is too much for me.
So at that point, you'd realized as you're laying on the bathroom floor of this hotel in excruciating pain, you realized I made a huge mistake. So what happens after that?
So I continued the healing process, telling myself I just needed to, get through this and I'll come out the other side and it'll be fine. But as I'm healing and, I get to go back to my house and like we're dilating there now and it's a little bit easier to do, but it still hurts. It's still a lot of bleeding and complications start happening. And I don't want to go too in depth because they're pretty gross, but like part of it like detached and like there's like 2 holes basically, and that's what like my partner is like, where do I put this? And I'm like, I don't know, I can't see. And so I have to like call the doctor's office and they're like, oh no, don't worry about it, it's perfectly normal, this is what you need to do to heal it. So I get these special gauze that I have to use, and it eventually does heal. Then another complication comes up, which they call like sloughing skin, where it's like extra skin. Basically it's like skin that's like pushed out and is dangling there, but it's like attached to my body. And I call the doctor's office and I'm like, is this like, what is happening? Because I'm thinking there's like a prolapse or something at this point. And they're like, no, this is normal. All you got to do is get a pair of scissors and cut the skin out.
I was literally about to make a bad joke about that. I thought that'd be a bad joke, so I didn't say it. I cannot believe that's what they actually
That's what they told you to do. Just take...
They're very calmly, or they're like, don't worry about it, just get a pair of scissors. And I'm like, what? Excuse me?
And when they were telling you as you're leaving the hospital, like normally when you have a surgery, they go through like, if you see this is a warning sign. If you see this,
none of that.
They didn't go through any of that. Like, hey, some skin might fall out of your body. Just take a pair of scissors and cut it off. They didn't.
No. And I'm looking online trying to figure out what's going, because like there's a time period between when I call and leave a message and get the call back,
right,
to know what's
so I'm sure
going
you're
on.
Freaking out in the meantime.
And I'm trying to Google. Nobody talks about this stuff online. There's no information about it. The other thing was called a dehiscence, is what they called it. The thing I had to use the gauze for, but nobody like is talking about it online. I don't know if it's like people are scared to talk about it, but I can't be the only one that's had this happen, because they say, oh yeah, that's totally
right, that's
normal.
Totally normal.
So apparently lots of people have this happen.
Gotta be normal.
Yeah. But nobody's talking about it. And so I'm freaking out, like thinking that I've made a horrible mistake and now it's like even worse. But everything like kind of cleared up, my partner took scissors and did the thing, and it was scary, but it happened. And the whole thing, it felt like everything that could go wrong went wrong.
But that was all normal.
But it was all normal. Yeah. It was all to be expected, but nobody wants to prepare you for that. So I don't know why, if it's considered normal and expected,
right,
that they wouldn't say, hey, this might happen. Especially beforehand, because that would have freaked me out to the point where...
which is probably why they didn't tell you.
Of course, they want my money, That's what I am to them, a cash cow.
It's hard not to be cynical in that way, because we don't know their hearts, what they're actually thinking. But
of course.
Based on what we see, your testimony, it just seems like, no, we want to fast track you down this pipeline
Mm-hmm.
to, in a real way, milk you
Yeah.
for the resource, for the money, or whether from you or insurance or whatever, not caring about you as a person, not caring about the side effects,
Yeah.
the short-term effects, and then the long-term effects. And then the messaging about these effects aren't readily available. I mean, they're
Right.
hard to get to. Like you said, you're looking online. I mean, you're trying to find it, and it's hard to find the information you're looking for about all these bad things you weren't told about ahead of time, right?
Yes. Yeah. No, nothing I'm looking on Reddit. I'm looking everywhere I can just to find somebody else.
Do you
that
still
talks
look
about
now?
it. I've looked a couple times. I still like.
It's still hard to find.
Yeah, it's still most recent one I can think of. This other trans woman comes on the post and is like, "You're lying. You're spreading fear mongering." And I'm like, "No, I'm trying to give a realistic expectation." She's like, or he's like, you know, I had the surgery and immediately there was no pain. I'm like, well, there's no way that that's possible. You're just lying.
Not telling the truth.
Yes, you're absolutely lying to me right now. But this is the mentality they have because, you know, nobody wants to admit the reality of it because it's hard to be wrong about this, especially once you've gone through something like I have. I only got the surgery like not even 2 years ago. It was like it'll be 2 years in June.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Wow.
So it hasn't been that long. My partner and I were going to get married, but then we called the wedding off and then the relationship ended and she kind of turned very malicious against me and like turned my friend group against me. So all those like atheist people that I was hanging out with, you know, like that I was like this with, they all like dropped me suddenly, very suddenly. And it was all very weird and very traumatic at the time. And this was just back in November that
Because
this happened.
that is your support group.
Yes, yeah. My entire
Right.
support group is suddenly in an instant gone.
You are in pain mentally and
Yes.
physically.
Yeah, all of it happened very suddenly, and I again, it drives me further into this. I need to just, you know, end my life at this point because I've lost everything.
Wow. Now, you mentioned earlier when you were telling your story, you never stopped to think, why is she paying for my surgery and not doing something for herself? Did you ever figure out why?
No.
No.
And things changed between us after this surgery. Like all of the like intimacy that we had was gone.
Okay.
And it was very strange. Now, where I am now, I believe that all had to happen for me to become a Christian again and to find God again, because not a month later, I met this woman who is, I don't have the words to describe her. She's amazing. She's great. We met downtown in Cincinnati one night and then kind of became friends. At this point, I'm not really like thinking about like religion or God or anything or Christ. You know, it's not like really occurred to me in a long time. I don't like put two and two together that she's a Christian immediately because like she's just some girl I met. But she like immediately tells me her testimony that she's a Christian and she wants me to know that because it's a very important part of her life. She tells me that this really stuck with me was that I want to take you with me when I pass on to heaven. And I don't know why those words just like resonated with me and like got me thinking about, you know, Jesus again. And I started praying again. And I don't know that I immediately like was asking for forgiveness, but over the next like month or so, I kept praying, kept thinking about God and really reflecting on my life up until that point. And, you know, this is January.
This January?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
very recent.
Very
Okay.
recent. I start thinking like this whole thing is just wrong. And I'm praying about it. And I finally have a conversation with her about like what she thinks. And, you know, because nobody else in my life is being real with me. I still have other friends like that weren't my like close, intimate friend group, but I talk to them and everybody's like, no, you just don't question it. Don't think too much about it. You know, you've gone this far. Like, you know, this is who you are.
Yeah.
And they're well-meaning and stuff like that. But nobody is being real with me about it except for her. I have this conversation with her about it, about how I'm feeling. And it kind of like has gone from there. And, you know, I continued to pray about it. And, you know, February came around and I think it was like maybe mid-February when I finally was like, I kind of put my foot down with everybody in my life. Like, no, I'm 100% sure that this was the wrong thing for me to do. I want to detransition at this point because I feel convicted about it. I feel like I've made not just a horrible mistake, but like I've done the wrong thing. I turned away from my nature and embraced something demonic, really.
Yeah. So what were the reactions of people? Did they still keep trying to be like, no, this is who you are? Or were people like, okay, we'll pivot and embrace your, who you actually
some
are?
people, it's kind of a mixed bag. Like, my mom is happy that I've come to this conclusion because obviously she doesn't want to see her child go through this. She's happy that I've, turned back to God and I'm praying and I've accepted Jesus as my savior again. I haven't really talked to my dad about it, but we're not close. But my friends are still like cautioning me. They're like, "Are you sure about this?" But again, they're not Christian. They don't like understand the power of like conviction, I guess.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to explain that to somebody who doesn't understand,
Right.
Like when it's put upon your heart, you kind of can't ignore it.
Mm.
You mentioned your father a second ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I know in some of the things we were talking about earlier and kind of notes you gave to us, you said you had a fatherless childhood.
Yeah.
And so how did that affect you, especially in making these sorts of decisions later on in your life, you think?
I think it like was a huge factor in it. That's kind of why I like wanted to cover it and I put it in my notes because I didn't meet my father until I was 7 years old. And at this point, he was a stranger to me. He would send me like birthday cards and I would be like, who is this person? I don't know them.
Wow.
And finally, like, I tell my mom, like, I want to meet my dad. Like, I've never met him before. And he kind of like is in and out of my life. Whenever he has a girlfriend, it's like, I don't exist, We have an on and off again relationship for most of my life. We did get close when I was in high school, but it was a little too late at that point, really. And, all growing up, I felt very disconnected from other men, other boys, because like, I don't know, boys are kind of gross. And I didn't relate to the way that they talk about, especially about girls and stuff like that. Like I had my mom as like a strong female role model for me. She was single mom working as a open heart nurse. Like she was the bomb, like she was a hero in my book at that time. I mean, still is. I really looked up to her and I didn't have a male in my life that was consistently there all the time. So I didn't relate to other men. I didn't relate to boys. I always had girlfriends usually.
And so you think that made you more vulnerable to gender dysphoria and to the whole idea of being a woman and getting to be that strong woman that like your mom was.
Yeah.
Instead of men you didn't really relate to or know much about.
Oh yeah, I remember distinctly like around like 6 years old I told my best friend at the time, she was like one of the neighborhood kids. We were playing a house and I was like, you know what, I want to be the mom because like I wish I had been born a girl. I think it would have been cool if I was a girl. And that was kind of like where it I guess started for me, like those types of thoughts, very early on, and it went away for a long time until I met like this person that my sister was dating. I didn't have like a stable family. My mom did her best, but I didn't have like a family. We didn't sit down together at and have meals or anything like that. It was kind of like on your own for that kind of thing, or fast food, whatever. And I didn't have a dad. I never really felt like he was my dad.
Yeah.
Even when we got close later on, it was more like he was like a friend I hung out with sometimes.
Crazy uncle.
Yeah. And I met my wife, my ex-wife now, but I met her when I was like 17 years old.
Okay.
And up until that point, I knew what Christianity was. I knew what God was a little bit, but I really hadn't like dove into it at all.
Did you go to church at all as a kid growing up?
No, not really.
Okay.
And my mom, like, she was always working weekends and stuff like that because she was an open heart nurse. So we never really, like, I didn't have anybody to take me. And my grandparents were very godly people. We had meals every Sunday as a family together. But when they died when I was very young, I met my ex-wife, and she was not just like going to church, but like they were going to like a very like, I don't know if conservative is the right word, but like all the women like wear skirts. They don't watch TV. They try to be very like, Christ-like people. And I still like very much revere that lifestyle. When I was like 17 up until like 2021, was really like kind of the best time of my life. I was feeling great. Like I was good. I was leading my household as a man supposed to, every night in prayer, we would get on our knees, and pray. We went to church every Sunday multiple times. I don't know what happened exactly, but like the church kind of fell apart because it was revealed to us that, they were kind of covering up for a man who had done some horrible things to children.
Oh.
And that shattered the church. It really shook my faith because I thought these people were the godliest people I'd ever met, and I really looked up to them, probably too much. I really like had them on a pedestal a little bit, I think. Me and my wife, didn't live together, didn't do anything like that, like until we were married. Like we did the right thing by God. And I felt like we had really good lives together, and I threw it all away for a lie, for a poisoned dream, really, something that like is unattainable.
And so, I mean, if I understand you correctly, you were saying as you and your wife were striving to kind of live a godly lifestyle, as you're striving to do that, you felt more complete, more whole, by following that kind of biblical apparatus, that biblical structure for life. It was pretty good then. And as you bought that lie, turned away from that, you're now going through all of this, and you went through some of the worst suffering, the worst pain, and the worst quality of life, from what you're describing. So you went from biblical kind of framework, was working well, departed from that, bought the lie, dove in, and you get to brokenness as a result, which is what the Bible talks about so often, where sin is deceiving and it lures you into all these different promises. And then when you get there, it's actually death, which is kind of what I feel like I'm hearing from your story. There was life as you're pursuing this, but then as you departed from that, you end up into struggles and pain and brokenness.
Yeah, that's exactly. I couldn't have put it better myself. I endured all kinds of mental anguish, physical anguish as well. Obviously, like, that wasn't the right thing to do, but I feel like now that I've come full circle that it had to happen so that I could sit here today and talk to you guys about this, because nobody else is going to. I don't know if, like, there's nobody, I don't know, like, I mean, there's like, females that have come out and talked about it, like, more so than men who are like in my position that have, not just, undergone surgery, but like I have almost 10 years under my belt of, taking hormones and stuff like that. I don't know of anybody that has that long. Everybody is like, a couple years along the line and they think they know everything. And I was one of those people at one point.
So you're on the other side of this, but there are consequences you deal with. Is it like a daily regimen you have to go through just to function and live?
At this point, I don't have a way of producing hormones naturally, so I have to take synthetic hormones for the rest of my life.
Wow.
And there's no if you don't take them, like, you can develop all kinds of horrible health conditions that nobody told me about either.
Right.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, surprise. Yeah. The first thing was my voice, and I haven't been able to really train it back to the way it was. Permanent. I don't know if it's permanent how I speak now, but I kind of go in and out of this like deeper and more feminine voice, and it drives me crazy. There's no framework. There's all kinds of framework for transitioning. The doctors are like, yeah, let's get you down the road. But I went to my hormone doctor at Equitas, and I told her how I was feeling, that I wanted to detransition. And she immediately was pumping the brakes, like, whoa, are you sure this is what you want to do? Why don't we just like slow down the hormones? We don't want to take you all the way off them.
Slow detransition, but no slow for the transition. We're just
exactly.
full gas
full
pedal.
Speed ahead.
Yeah.
And again, there's no framework really. So like, I mean, what do I do with myself now? There's no, I guess I can go like take synthetic hormones. I could potentially get a surgery or something that could like make me a little bit more masculine appearing, but there's some things that can't be undone.
Yeah. And there's this conveyor belt when you get on, but once you want to get off, doctors probably, I assume, don't know what to do with you. And they're just kind of like, you're on your own.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I hear these testimonies from other people, but do you feel like you yourself are an anathema to like the whole kind of the transgender movement? Because at one point you're the poster child. Hey, look at this. And now you're sounding the alarm. And so do you feel like they're trying to ostracize you because of that?
Oh yeah. I mean, I actually like had a person that I was talking to recently that is a trans woman, and I'm trying to give a realistic explanation of what is going to happen if you go through with this. And I feel like I would be doing a great disservice, not just to myself, but to other people if I don't say something or give like a realistic explanation of what you're going to go through if you do what I did.
Well, to me, it's kind of like you've went into a house that was burning.
Mm-hmm.
And like you've got out of the house and you realize that house is burning.
Yeah.
And you're trying to tell other people who are going into the house, who are still living there, hey, the house is on fire.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you need to get out. It's out of love and compassion. I imagine you want to spread this message more than anything else.
Yeah. Even if I can help just one person with this by telling this story, that will be enough for me. Because like I have to find some kind of meaning. I have to make this okay somehow. Like it's okay because it has to be okay. As I've prayed about it, as I've thought about it, and I didn't know where to go with my message. And this interview kind of just fell in my lap organically. So I feel like it was really an answer to prayer. I feel like it's something that I had to do to draw some kind of meaning out of this. Because, like I said, I feel like I had to go through this for a reason so I could come out the other side and tell the truth in a way that nobody else is.
And Christ can redeem any situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Any amount of brokenness, any amount of rebellion against his design, God can take that, and he takes beauty out of ashes is how the Bible describes it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where he can take that brokenness and make it into something beautiful, and maybe that's spreading the message and the warning to other people to save them from walking down the same dangerous path and to point them to Christ and what he did, and that our identity is in him, not in our feelings and not in those struggles. And I'm curious, as you've kind of detransitioned and you've gotten off some of those hormones and things, has your mental health improved? Have you gotten better?
I actually was about to get to that. Thank you for asking that. Yes, absolutely. Almost immediately. As soon as I got off the hormones, I'm still on the low dose because I haven't found a doctor that will prescribe me testosterone, which is ultimately what I feel like I need to be on.
You can't so as a man, you can't find a doctor who will help you get male hormones because you can't make them yourself.
Yeah, I had an appointment at this.
No, you can't be serious.
Yeah, I've tried like talking to like because I don't have insurance at this moment.
Okay.
So I've been turned away for that reason.
Okay. Oh goodness.
I tried going back to the gender clinic, but she was like pushing the brakes, and then I had like a follow-up appointment with her and they canceled it without even calling me or anything. I don't know that it was intentional, but it felt intentional at the time.
But as soon as you started getting off those hormones, your body reacted well.
Yeah.
so speak.
My mental health has improved. I'm off all of the antipsychotics, the antidepressants, all of it's done. And I'm not having the suicidal ideation like I did. And I don't know that that's totally the hormones. I really believe that it's because Christ has really changed me from the inside out like he does.
Your new creation in Christ Jesus. The old is gone, behold the new is come.
And I'm a little bit blown away by it myself. Like I've even told people that like, you know, I've known for years and they're like, you're not on anything anymore? Like that can't be true. Like how is that possible? And you're feeling okay and like you're like
and you're smiling.
I'm smiling. I'm not feeling like ending my life. That's a huge thing for me.
I would say this, if I didn't know your story and we were just talking, I wouldn't have imagined you've gone through all of this.
Really?
Yeah, it's just normal conversation, sharp, engaged. You seem happy. I mean, I couldn't imagine the backstory you have to your life. So that's amazing to see that.
Even on the way here, I'll be candid. I was praying about it and crying about it because it's still very raw to me. And there's been a lot of tears and a lot of conversations. This is kind of like where I've landed with the taking my story and trying to make something out of it or, you know, spread it. So even if I can help like 1-2 people, like that'd be enough. I don't have like gender dysphoria like I did. It's all gone. I don't know if it's the hormones, but I really believe that it's because I accepted Jesus and he changed me from the inside out. Like I said, like he washed away all of that.
Now, what advice would you have to churches that have people like you coming through the doors who have made these decisions? Obviously, you can't go back, but they want to pursue Christ. Or maybe they just have questions. They're just like, I need someone to tell me the truth. Maybe this church will do it. What advice would you have for the church and how to help people?
I mean, obviously, you have to love people as they are, you know, warts and all is what my grandfather used to say. And I think that would go a long way, like at least just like being willing to have the conversation with people. You know, don't sugarcoat it, don't lie to people, but pray for these people, you know, give them honest advice like when they come to you. But I'll tell you this, I don't think anyone should transition at any point in their life, because I don't think that anyone is adequately prepared to go through this. I don't think bodies respond well to cross-sex hormones.
Yeah.
And it's just, you're going against nature. And it's kind of like chasing this unattainable dream. And one day you're going to wake up, and in this life or the next, hopefully in this life, like I did, and you're going to look around and you're going to be like, here I am now. And there's this quote from, I don't remember the book, but that I read a long time ago, and it's always stuck with me. And it's like, wherever you run to, there you are.
No matter where you go, there you are.
And this is kind of like what you're doing. You're running. And no matter where you end up running to, you are going to be there. And you're still going to be you. And you can't escape that. And that's kind of what like they're trying to, you know, spoon feed you almost, is that you can escape your biological reality. And you can reach for this unattainable dream that is just not possible. It's always going to be a conveyor belt or even a treadmill. You feel like you're running faster and faster, but you're really not getting anywhere.
Yeah. Would you have any advice for parents when their child comes to them and says, hey, I'm struggling with this? What should parents do? Like, would there have been anything, do you think, that would have helped you as a 20-something?
Really look into like detransitioners. Listen to the things that they say. You know, what are they talking about? What are the things that they've gone through? Because nobody was realistic or even knowledgeable about this then enough to tell me like, hey, you're going to go through X, Y, and Z. I love you. And I'm, you know, I will be with you. I will pray for you. But this is what I think, you know, you should embrace your nature, because you're chasing something that is ultimately going to lead to your damnation. It's going to lead to, like you said, the wages of sin are death. And that's what it is. I feel like so many parents these days, like, you know, especially like in certain states, are like, you know, they're being pushed towards like, you know, you either affirm your kids or you're basically killing them.
Yes, yeah.
And
they're told that by doctors.
They are told that, and now by politicians too. Yeah. And laws are being made that frankly give me nightmares, and I can't stress enough that it's an unattainable dream. And like I said, one day you're going to wake up, and I hope it's in this life that you wake up, but you're going to wake up eventually, and you're going to realize, you know, what you've lost. Yeah. Because nobody prepared me for the fact that I'm never going to be able to have biological children. I'm not going to be able to have a normal, you know, relationship with who I eventually marry. It's all very complicated now, and I don't know exactly I don't have all the answers, but I know who does. If you have a child, or even if you are the person questioning, like, sit down, pray about it, because only God can, like, you know, really take this away from you and change you from the inside out like he did me.
Christ is enough. And he heals and he restores and he redeems when we come to him in faith.
Yeah. And the Bible says you have faith the size of a mustard seed and you can move mountains. And he can move mountains. He moved mountains for me.
Amen. Praise the Lord.
Who the faith is in.
And one last question for you. I think our viewers will be curious about your name. So Josey. So what's the story behind the name Josey?
So Josey has always been my name, actually.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't my legal name. Joseph was my legal name growing up. But nobody called me that. It was always Josey, and it comes from the outlaw Josey Wales, if you're familiar with the old Western movie. I don't know why. I even spell it like that way, great. Too. Yeah.
Let me just say this. I'm thinking of Romans 8:28, where for those who basically put their faith in Christ, God uses all things for good. And not that all things are good. And as I look at you, you're a testimony right now about how someone can be used by God in a unique way, even in bad circumstances, to proclaim truth that can help others. And that even those who are watching, if you've gone through this, like, your life's not over.
No.
God's got purpose for you. God is calling you towards himself. Repent, put your faith in Christ. God can use you in ways you can't imagine. And then there's healing found in Christ this side of heaven. And then, of course, ultimately perfection in heaven in that reality. And so life's not over. Yes, it's broken. We're all broken in one degree or another. But there's hope. There's life if you'll simply put it in Christ.
Yes, absolutely. Amen.
Well, thank you so much, Josey, for having the courage to come and share your story. I know a lot of those details are really painful. So thank you for sharing with us and just sounding the warning bell to people to not pursue this and to pursue Christ instead.
Yeah, thank you guys for talking to me. I really appreciate it. I feel really good about this. I think that, like I said, it was an answer to prayer that I ended up here today. So
Well, we're very pleased to have you. Thank you.
thank you.